I have talked a lot on my channel about adapting my white chocolate ganache recipe, but I also wanted to show you a really simple way to adjust a dark chocolate or milk chocolate ganache recipe to include something like raspberry. It's really easy to substitute out some or even all of the heavy cream. I personally recommend doing anywhere from 25% to 75%. I really like to keep in at least a little bit of heavy cream, but that's completely up to you. I am making my own raspberry puree by using frozen raspberries I've just let thaw in my refrigerator, blend it up in my blender, then use a sieve or a fine mesh strainer sort of situation just to remove any of the seeds. If you don't mind the seeds in your ganache, you can feel free to leave those in, but I really like to have a really nice smooth fruit puree, so I'm just making sure that the final weight is just the fruit puree because the seeds will add quite a bit of weight. Then I'm going to proceed with my ganache recipe as normal, again substituting out some of that heavy cream for the puree, but leaving just a little bit in there. As you know, I really like to use a blend of a darker and a lighter chocolate. So you see here a lot of dark chocolate and a bit of milk chocolate. I am also adding in a bit of honey. You can use trimoline or any inverted sugar. That's going to help a lot with a really smooth, glossy ganache that has a bit longer of a stability or shelf life. Then I'm going to get my raspberry puree and that heavy cream on my stove just to heat up to about a scald or a very low, gentle simmer. Oftentimes with a batch this small, I will just pop the cream into my microwave. But with the puree, I just wanted to heat it a little bit lower and slower, so I'm just putting all of that in a saucepan on my stove. Besides raspberry puree, and as you saw, I made my own puree. You can buy raspberry puree. Just make sure you're looking for a sugar-free 100% fruit puree. You can do this with so many other fruits. If you want to make a strawberry ganache, that's a really great idea. Something like a passion fruit dark chocolate ganache, you can put passion fruit puree in there. Fruits that don't have quite as distinct of a flavor or that might fight a little bit with the dark chocolates. For example, something like blueberry or blackberry, like those might be a little bit more challenging to truly get that fruity note. But you could also use something like an orange juice concentrate. You've seen me use that on my channel before. So there are definitely a lot of ways to play around with adding in really nice, vibrant, bright, fruity elements into a dark chocolate ganache as well, and keeping it a really simple, basic kind of recipe, right? You have your heated up cream, very simple. You're pouring that over the chocolate. We're going to give it a good blend, and it's basically ready to go once it's cooled down. Really quite simple, even though it seems a little bit fancier. Now I do want to make a note of this. Probably you could have guessed it already. Right now we see this really beautiful, vibrant pink liquid here on the stove. Once I combine this in with my dark chocolate, this ganache is still going to be brown. It is going to look like a regular dark chocolate ganache. So I am getting a really nice raspberry fruity note in this ganache, but I am not getting that color because dark chocolate is so intensely brown. After pouring that heated up cream and puree mixture over my chocolates and honey, I'm giving this a really nice stir. Then I'm going to switch over to my immersion blender to add in the butter. You could use simply a whisk, but especially with a fruit puree in this ganache and with any ganache really, using an immersion blender really helps to smooth everything, make a really homogenous ganache, and this is going to not only look a lot better when you are piping your macarons, but it's just the texture is just going to be better. I really like to use this method of cooling down my ganache by pouring it onto a plastic wrap lined sheet pan. This helps cool it down really quickly because you've got a lot of surface area there. Then as soon as that's room temperature for a small batch like this, just a couple hours is probably fine. You can pipe it right in. As I mentioned, this is a really nice raspberry note in the chocolate, but dark chocolate and milk chocolate are pretty intense flavors. So if you want to really go in on this raspberry flavor, I would recommend doing a ring of the raspberry chocolate ganache around the outside and then adding in a raspberry jam on the inside just to really intensify the raspberry flavor. Otherwise, I think this is a really, really great flavor for a simple macaron, especially with Valentine's Day around the corner. If you want something simple, pretty easy to do, basic, but still a little bit special, I think this is the flavor for you. Thank you so much for listening, for watching this tutorial. If you give the recipe a try, let me know, tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see your results. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure to click the button down below so you don't miss out on any of my future recipes. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye.